right. Hi, everyone, and thank you for taking time to join us on the lunch hour. Hope everyone is having a wonderful start to this Christmas week. Despite COVID halting Christmas trips and plans, I'm glad that we have access to tech resources like Zoom. We can connect with family and friends during this time. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'll just share my screen. Okay, so today we've got Sam Roberts on the lunch hour. He's our special guest, founder of Olive Branch Counselling Services. A little bit about myself, I run a law firm called Sarah-Mae Thomas LLC. I specialize mainly in family law. I do some probate, some civil and commercial matters. So you can look up my website, it's just over there, or give me a call. I'll be happy to have a talk with you. That's my QR code on the right. And yeah, just a little bit about myself. I specialize in family law, as I mentioned. I'm qualified both in Singapore and Australia. And I have a heart for families going through difficult times, and especially children, because I feel that they are the ones that suffer most in a divorce. So yes, child rights activist, well, advocate is what I call myself. I also run Singapore's first legal podcast, the Legal Eagle podcast, where I talk about various social and legal issues that I'm passionate about. So feel free to hop onto Spotify or any app where they play podcasts, so Google, Chrome, Apple, Spotify. You can scan the QR code below and hear me talk to different people from around the world, mainly on their perspective on divorce. I've just run a divorce series. I'm about to start a legal tech series. So yeah, tune into the Legal Eagle podcast. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Sam and why I have him on the show. See, even though I specialize in family law, there are many kind of areas that intersect with family law. In the previous webinar, I interviewed Melvin Lim from the Property Lim Brothers, and he kind of shared with us property trends post-COVID-19. If you'd like to watch the webinar, you can just hop onto YouTube and just type in the Legal Eagle podcast in the search bar and it'll come up with the interview. So the reason why I have Sam on today's lunch webinar is because Sam is actually a specialist in family breakdown or just family issues that children and parents kind of undergo. He's doing a doctorate in psychology. He was just telling me about it just before we started, that he's got 12,000 words to write every 2 months. So it's a pretty intense doctorate that he's doing. He's also a accredited clinical supervisor. He's a professional counselor. Sam's focus is really on families and children. He deals with couples, individuals, teenagers, children, and he addresses issues like marriage, depression, anger, anxiety, behavioral issues, abuse, addiction, and all kinds of other disorders. So he's your go-to person, even for bereavement or trauma. So as a family lawyer, I very much empathize with my clients who are going through this tough time in their lives. As much as divorce is often an avoided topic, it still needs to be addressed. And particularly, we need to have awareness when it comes to navigating people's emotions in a divorce. So today, Sam will be addressing reasons for breakdown in a relationship, as well as answer your questions concerning parents or children. I'm sure we all have family, friends, or colleagues who are going through a divorce. And I hope today's webinar will equip you with a better understanding of how to support these people as well. So Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarah, for that introduction. First of all, I want to thank you for being very proactive in your approach to help families and couples by organizing such events and giving me this opportunity to be part of your endeavors. So let me quickly share a few things and then we'll go into a time of Q&A. Okay. Can you see this? Can you see my screen? Okay, great. Yeah, so let me share a little bit about Olive Branch. Olive Branch was founded in 2013. Currently, I have a team of professionals together with me, having a master's degree in psychology and counseling with various specializations working on various issues. At Olive Branch, we provide our services to children, teenagers, couples, families, and adults. In In providing our services to adults and couples, these are some of the areas we help with: communications, extramarital issues and infidelity, separation and divorce, sex and intimacy, addictions and recovery, anger management, depression, suicide, anxiety and stress. My work mainly involves with adults and couples dealing with marriage, infidelity, and such issues. I also work with teenagers and children, but as I have another team of professionals who specially focus on them, I focus mainly on adult and couple issues together with children. Kids therapy is another division of Olive Branch where we work mainly with children aged 4 to 12 years who are going through social, emotional, and behavioral issues, dealing with trauma, abuse, violence, anger, sadness, behaviors caused by family separation and divorce. We work closely with courts in making assessments of children and also helping families work through separation and divorce, working with both parents and kids. Today's topic has been about navigating emotions in a divorce for parents and children. I'm going to just quickly share with you about today's topic on navigating emotions. To be honest, it's not an easy topic. I have clients I'm working with for years. Each person's experience is unique, and navigating through their emotions is not easy for the person who's actually experiencing it. I thought it'll be good to take a few minutes to share some thoughts and personal insights, and then we move into the Q&A. So here is a latest snapshot of marriages and divorce in Singapore. In fact, if you look at it, fewer couples got married in 2019, but more got divorced. This is the statistics from the Singapore Department of Statistics. My question is, has the pandemic caused it? It is a debatable question, but for sure there are some effects of it that has elevated the stress in the already struggling relationship. It is surprising that it is 29% of divorce in Singapore, and the largest group of them was that of those who are married for a period of 5 to 9 years, which means within that 5 to 9 years, the children are pretty young. During this period, the divorces happen. Here are some common known reasons for breakdown in relationship: communication breakdown, cheating on spouse, financial problems, different parenting ideas, cultural issues, boredom with the spouse, etc. While these are true reasons for breakdown, in my experience dealing with hundreds of couples and working through various issues, I've also realized that there are two important factors that play a very important role in relationship breakdown. And the two important roles that I see, or two important factors that I see play a very important role are: one is insufficient knowledge of relationship rights and obligations. It's a pretty hard thing to understand, but I had to put some words together and figure out what it actually means. So that means there's a lack of knowledge in how relationships work. What are its rights? What are its obligations? Even if it's a dating relationship, it's a marriage, it's hard to understand, and everybody has their personal views. So every person has certain expectations, views about marriage, family, parenting, finances, and all that can be slightly different from their partner. These differences cause disagreements, and which, if not addressed, will cause disappointments. If these disappointments are not addressed with good communication skills, which is the second point, then over a period of time, it will lead to breakdown. So individual communication styles play an important role in managing and handling those issues. And if they're not handled well, then it causes a breakdown. Relationship breakdowns don't happen all of a sudden, but happens over a period of time where at least one person in the relationship feels that an issue or issues have been repeating over a period of time. And this person finds no way to get it resolved because communication is also broken over time. On the other hand, divorce is not an easy way out. A divorce, I believe, begins a new chapter in life, but its memories, which one would rather want to actually shut it off, will actually be revisited lifelong at different stages of life. In some cases, this can be embarrassing, it can cause upheaval of emotions, and it can affect one's personal life and future social life and relationships. I have seen couples who have insisted on having a divorce. I've helped them through it, but later they regretted, they wanted to come back because it affected a lot of their personal life, created a lot of stress, and some have even wanted to come back and see if they can work back on it. Uh, the next slide I just want to share is some of the challenges and stress faced after divorce. The challenges are co-parenting, financial stress, stress between family and friends. It affects the self-esteem. It's a lifelong explanation. In some cases, it also affects their faith and their spirituality, and it affects them a lot. So with today's topic on navigating emotions, well, I would like to see how I can be of help to answer any of your concerns or queries you may have. But having given similar talks before on some of the challenges I will face in answering some of your questions will be to have a better understanding of some of these areas, which is understanding the individual, understanding the situation, and understanding the problem. So since we do not have enough time to understand all of this, my answers may sometimes sound very generic without having the specifics of this information. However, I will do my best to help address your concerns to the best of my knowledge, ability, and experience. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit I thought I could share, but I don't want to waste much time. I want to see how I can, hand it over back to Sarah and see how I can help you with any questions you have. Over to you, Sarah.
Great. Thanks. Thanks so much, Sam, for that. That was very insightful. Actually, I have a question about, you mentioned that actually these issues are long-standing, a lot of the issues, and they're repeated behavioral patterns. Would you recommend that, whether or not a couple, even if they're not contemplating divorce, would you recommend that every single married couple go for counseling?
Yes, I told you about one of my first reasons that I, based on my experience, which I shared, was insufficient knowledge of relationship rights and obligation. It's something that I have thought through a lot. If I make one statement, over the years, I have asked myself this question and I've realized this. And I make this like this, what do we do to get a marriage certificate? Just go to the ROM, give your IC, say I do, you get a marriage certificate. And I've realized marriage certificate is the only certificate with no training. Which means there's so much of lack of knowledge, even understanding what the marriage is. And to be honest, my marriage was breaking down and I had no clue about it. Well, that's another time to share my story. So there's a lot of knowledge that lacks in the expectations that we have. And we have this general expectation that this is what I want to have, but we don't understand the fundamentals of what a marriage needs. So I would definitely say I would encourage everybody to just go and understand, spend some time, figure out. Once you'll be able to do that and then work on your communications, definitely marriages can be saved.
I suppose then the question of premarital counseling as well is so important. I know in some circles, like some churches, they say it's mandatory to go through 1 year or like 4 to 6 sessions of premarital counseling, which I think is very important to kind of navigate kind of issues that might blow up during the marriage.
Yeah, to be honest, just 6 sessions may not be completely enough because there are different stages of life. Of a marriage as well. When kids are born, renovation is taking place, relocation is taking place. There are different stages. So I would say, once in 6 months, once a year, just go and do some relationship health check and just see if there are issues that are underlying, before it blows out or it's piled up. Go and get some help.
Yeah, and I think the problem is people leave it until it's really bad or, the marriage is just over the cliff. So I think the more awareness people can have that, hey, this is not a stigma topic. This is not an issue that just because you're going for counseling means there's anything wrong. It's just having a health check on issues that you've maybe had some blind spots on. I think
that's right.
That's so important.
I think you put it right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get stuck into the topic of divorce. And in the unfortunate situation where a couple has decided to divorce and they have children, how honest should parents be with their kids about why they're getting divorced?
Okay, that's a good question. But when it comes to children, age plays a very important role there.
Yeah.
Children don't only learn from being told, they also learn through their own personal experiences. As parents, we are always in this stage where we are always only telling them, instructing them. Once they reach a specific age, they don't need to be told. it's important that we learn to nurture them, or we ask questions, we help them to see it. So, the important thing for us to note is, do not let children worry about your problems, about adult problems. They cannot understand it. They will learn through it. So when we share our worries on them, what we are actually doing is unknowingly, I mean, since our topic is navigating through emotions, unknowingly we are passing on our emotions to them. This will make them worry. And this can have long-term effects on, it can cause anxiety and other disorders in their later years. So age-appropriate information has to be given at different stages of their life.
And what would you say, like, I mean, if a parent goes and shares with a child, you know, I'm worried about this, I'm concerned that your father is like this. You know, sometimes parents do it to 5-year-olds, to 9-year-olds, to 12-year-olds. Is there an age of reference that they shouldn't even be talking about these things with children?
They shouldn't be talking about, yeah, that's a very important thing. And they shouldn't be talking about these things to children. You know, just the other day, me and my wife were just having a debate on a TV show. And my son was sitting there, he said, "Oh, this is why divorce happens." And I was like shocked. This just happened 2 days ago. We were just having a debate. I mean, not even, I mean, we were just like sharing our views or point. We never quarrel in front of them. And then he said this, so I had to spend some time. He's about 12 years old. So I had to sit with him and just talk to him and say, are you afraid? Like, are you really concerned? So the children, you know, don't understand what adults are talking at what level and all that. So, so we need to be very careful of creating instability for them, because for them, for the children, both of them are important. It immediately creates a kind of worry. And I had to take him out separately, take him for a drive out, just sit and talk with him. And he said, "No, I was thinking you both are arguing." And so I was just trying to make sure, of course, having a background with working with children, I know how to handle it. But if it is ignored, then children, you know, do get worried about it. So at what age you can say it, my suggestion is, unless they have reached some stage of themselves understanding something is going wrong, they should always have the freedom to be open to talk to you about their worries. So do not project your worries on them. So if you're talking to you saying, "Oh, your dad is this, your mom is doing this," it is absolutely not the right approach to work. I mean, to help your child. We are unknowingly damaging our child's insecurities or the stability that the child should have.
Yeah, because I mean, divorce is a very, it's a shaking experience for a child, right? Because mom and dad are no longer residing in the same residence, and then they're having to shuffle back and forth. So there's a lot of things that are changing in their lives. And then let alone a lot of children, I mean, I've read through some literature that they actually think it's their fault that the parents are, especially, you know, under 10 or under 12, they think it's their fault for the marriage breakdown. So what are some pointers that you can give to parents in terms of when to tell their children, yeah, mom and dad are going to separate or divorce? How should they even approach the topic? Should they approach the child together, or, you know, how should it be done? I know there's no one cookie cutter answer for that.
First of all, parents must first understand that for a holistic, healthy development of their children, the children need to have a safe and secure attachment with both the parents. This is very important for a child, especially in the early years of development between 3 to 12 years. I understand that there will be a lot of difficulties of what has happened in the communication breakdown between the parents, but parents must put their personal grievances aside and plan to keep the child's emotions safe and secure. Information given should be, again, as I told you, age appropriate, and it must be planned together as much as possible to be delivered together for a smooth transition for the child. If the parents' emotions are getting into the way of how they are approaching or telling the child, then it is better to get professional help to avoid future complications for the parents and for the child. So if you are not emotionally stable, and if you both cannot come together and agree together and let your child know together that this is what is happening, but you don't have to worry because we will still be your parents and we will work together to make sure that you're there. It's just that we are, we'll be moving separately for different, reasons. And it could be a short period of time. Do not give them too much information at one go, and then slowly, you cannot just give everything to them at one go. So
Yeah.
it'll be good if both can work together and deliver it.
Yeah.
Do not let your emotions in the way. If you
Yeah.
cannot, get some professional help.
And how much is, counseling or therapy a recommendation support for children during this time? Do you think that all children of divorcing parents should go through counseling? Is that?
This totally depends on how old the child is. Even last week, I was seeing a 21-year-old boy, how much he's struggling because his parents are planning to divorce. He's 21. He's in the 20. Sorry, he's in the army, and he came down for his weekend, and he came to see me and of his struggles. How he doesn't want it, but then he says he has no choice. So it totally depends on how old the child is and what is the child's personality and dependency on the social and emotional support of the parents. Usually children exhibit behaviors after separation or divorce, and then they come for counseling and therapy. So counseling and therapy is always a proactive support for the child, and it will be highly recommended to avoid further issues on the child's social, emotional, and behavioral concerns. So how much is it recommended? I would say it's always recommended, but it also depends on the child's stage of life, on their dependency on the parents.
Yeah. And, I'm sure divorce has a huge impact on the child in terms of, the issues that might arise at different stages of their lives. Aside from counseling, what types of support systems do they need at different times? I suppose a baby needs a very different support system than a 21-year-old. But what is your recommendation in terms of when people come to see you for a support system? Because mom and dad are now divided. But then,
Sure.
of course, there's grandparents, there's friends, there's churches, there's all those kind of systems.
Yeah. It again depends on not just the age of the child, it also depends on the personality of the child.
Yeah.
We all have innate personalities which are inherent in us. And some of the common issues, let's look into some of the common issues that impact children. A little while ago, you also mentioned self-blame. Children blame themselves. They think that, the quarrels were caused because dad and mom were fighting over some specific homework. And so it becomes that the child feels that they're quarreling because of me. So I am the cause. So sometimes the child can take it on themselves and live with that for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And this can affect their self-esteem. So they develop low self-esteem. Some develop lack of confidence. It affects social anxiety, general anxiety, behavior management, addictions, depression, suicidal, anger management. Some have nightmares. Some have school dropouts. So all these are the after effects of the divorce in some or few of the children. But a child needs healthy social and emotional support, if possible, from both parents. If not, from extended families, friends, community. The parents need to figure out that they do get someone to open up and talk and share. So if they cannot get counseling and therapy, then it's good that they try to find some ways of getting them that social, because therapy is just once a week or for a period of time and then it stops. That's just to help them navigate it. But on a regular, for them, a long lasting development of their self, it's important to help them find that place and support. Starting off, if they can do it together with both the parents, if not with extended families and support.
So we've got actually one person asking. I was going to leave it for Q&A, but I think this is actually relevant to what you've just discussed. Someone's just asked, what if the child's response to your statement about divorce is, I don't care even if you divorce?
First of all, I would like to know how old the child is, and I would guess generally the child is in their teenage years. Because 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 10-year-old will not immediately say, I don't care. So generally, I would guess, if not, correct me if I'm wrong, because they've come to a point, they have seen constantly, they have, seen that there is no resolution to their conflicts in communication. The child comes to a point where, one, the child has no deeper connection with the parent. The child is already disconnecting. Sometimes the children, like I have a 13-year-old girl who is so dependent on her mother, but is so disconnected from her father. So she says, like, I don't care what dad wants to do, because she already is disconnected, but she's very supportive of the mother. So there's a disconnect where, because the father has been busy traveling, not spending enough time, so there's already a disconnect, but she's all constantly witnessed the the parents fighting. She's like, yeah, no point, I don't care, you want to leave, but I still have you. See, at that stage, they're still dependent on one parent. So like, yeah, I don't care if you feel, so in support of one parent, the child may say, yeah, I don't care, as long as you're happy, as long as I have you. So the child is still independent. But let's say a child is in their 21 or 23, they have their own financial support. They're like, it's better you don't live together, because they know now they are more independent. So I don't care is a partial dependency, but that is actually not healthy for the child, but that the child is trying to escape from all the conflicts as well.
So the person has just said he is 10 years old. We always quarrel because of his misbehavior, I guess, bad behavior. And he says he doesn't care. It's not his fault.
Okay, then there is a deeper issue with the child. Something else is happening for the child. There seems to be a bit of defiance in the child. There's something else happening in the child. So the child has come to a point like complete disconnect. So the child is in a bubble, doesn't know what to do. So generally the child is responding to such cases because, in a situation like this, because the child is always threatened, but the threat is not kept, or the child is being told, but it's not done. Okay, I'm going to punish you, I'm not going to give you this, but then afterwards the child gets it. So the child goes to a point like, I don't care, I don't see any consequence. Which means there is a parenting issue over there, where the child knows to get his way out, but the child cannot see the consequences of that.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with the child. That's something that I see is that the child needs some help on that.
Yeah. Okay, so just moving on to another question. I mean, I know what to advise divorce client if they come and ask me this question. What happens when one party refuses to budge on an issue? So, I mean, we have legal perspective, but from a counseling perspective, like budge on an issue, I suppose access to mom or dad, or budge on, I'm sure you also see couples who are in the midst of going through a divorce. So how do they handle this impasse, I guess? Yeah,
so trying to address that, if what happens if one party refuses to budge on an issue. I would assume that this is in relationship to the children.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, so it is important to understand that the child it's important to understand what the child needs and what the parents want. The conflict between want and needs puts the child in a very trapped position, to which, if the child is stressed, he or she may freeze, may fight, or even flee at a later stage in life. So if one party refuses to budge, it is probably, I'm assuming, that they are focusing on their wants, but not on what the child needs. So it is important to understand that. And if they don't budge to what the child needs, the child will have long-term consequences of that. They may not see it now. So they are letting their emotions into play and focusing on their wants, but not what a child needs. So if one party refuses, we see a lot of complications that the child will face, because the child is losing that stability.
Yeah.
Depends on what stage, no matter what, as I told you, even 20-year-old guy can be affected by it. And the mother was insisting that I'm going to divorce and I don't want you to meet your dad. And he was completely affected by it. So she was insisting that I'm going to end it. But once I end, I don't want you to keep in contact with dad. And then he was like, so she was not budging into it. And it's what she wants, but she was not able to pay attention to what the child's needs are.
Yeah.
So it causes effect. So then that's why he came to see me, trying to understand how he can
navigate through all of this.
Yeah. So now I'm trying to help the mother. I think even before I could see the son, I told the mother it is not what we can do. It's not going to help.
Yeah. So I have a question. Do children with shy and quiet personalities have a more difficult time dealing with divorce because they're not able to express and outwardly process their emotions, externally process their emotions?
Sure. The answer is, in most cases, it's yes. Not in all cases. Because a child with a shy and quiet personality may not be able to communicate or express their thoughts and emotions freely. This can lead to kind of bottling up their issues and concerns, which can later pile up over a period of time. And it can either lead to explosive behaviors or it can lead to depressive and suicidal tendencies. So the answer is yes, personalities do play. That's why they need help, that's social, emotional. Some of them can probably share it out with their friends, but some of them can completely disconnect. They may be introvert, they don't need many friends. But it doesn't mean that they're introvert, they cannot cope with that. But they need a lot of help trying to process their thoughts and their emotions. Then they will be able to. So it's not always a S, but in most cases it's a S.
Yeah. Actually, that got me thinking, for kids, your therapy would be very different for younger children. You'd have, can you share with us what kind of therapy younger children have, like play therapy, coloring?
Okay, we only do therapy for children from the age of 4. In some cases, we do take some ages of 3 if they are able to express themselves.
Yeah.
So our therapy, all our professionals are trained in child play therapy. In play therapy, we use a very integrated approach. There is sand play, there is different kinds of music and all that. So what we do is we use anything we can to connect the children to play with. It could be art, it could be playing with the sand, it could be playing with some toys, it could be just dressing up like what they want to. We have, our therapy room is filled with all different toys that they can choose and play. Some may like to write, some may like to draw, some may like to color, some may like to play with sand. No matter what, we will use their play and allow them to express their emotions. And we will kind of imprompt them into some questions and they will express it during this play. And that's how we help them process their emotions.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so just onto a different kind of tangent. I see a lot of expats getting divorced in Singapore. Do you have any insights into specific cultural issues or particular issues that expats might have in Singapore getting divorced?
30% of my clients I see are expats as well.
Yeah.
The common reason I see that the relationship becomes pretty stressful is because of the relocation. So when they relocate, let's say the husband is moving here for a job. His focus and his priority becomes his job because he needs to prove himself, he needs to connect with his team, he needs to get to know the plans over here. So he is trying to set up his own environment and trying to connect, and so his time is completely focused on the job. So what happens to the mother if she has 2 young kids? She's completely new to this place. She has no idea. She's locked up in this house, trying to set up, trying to get to know the places from morning till evening with 2 little kids. And she's pretty stressed up, and all she's expecting is when he comes home, she can spend some time to talk to him and, get some help. Now he's stressed the whole day. He comes home, he wants some time. She has no time. She's doing baby talk the whole day. She wants some adult talk. Both are stressed, both are tired, so they don't have enough, help and support to even have good, healthy communication. So the first 6 months of a relocation is really stressful because you don't have family, you don't have friends, you just can't get a helper immediately. You can't trust helpers. Those are different viewpoints, but so with all this, the relationship gets into a real stress and the communication starts falling apart. And that's where, it really affects their relationship. So that's one factor I see very quite often. The relocation puts a lot of stress. If they don't have close family, friends around, it really puts them into a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But the other cultural issues, I don't see them as a major part. But if the spouse is not able to find an immediate job, for example, the spouse may be on a dependent pass and you can't get a job quickly on a dependent pass, so then they may feel kind of discriminated sometimes given the setup over here. Those are a subset of some of these issues. Those are some of the actual reasons that I do see that. But culturally, I don't see major, because in all relationships, I see it as communication breaks down first.
Yes.
And then it just drags into other things.
And on that note, we also have some cases where, expats have come to Singapore for a number of years, and then mom and dad decide that, they want to split ways, and mom wants to go back to Brazil or her country of origin, and dad wants child here. How can the family navigate emotions in that way? Because I guess it would come back to your, what do you want versus what's good for the child?
Yeah, that's a very complicated situation here. So I had a similar case like that. So the father owns a business over here and the mother wasn't working. And now when they wanted to split, the mother feels, I am of no purpose over here. I want to go back. So let me take the child and go. The father says, no, you cannot separate the child from me. So then the mother says, okay, then I demand that you pay so much for my expenses over here, and this is going to be expensive on you. And then so a lot of emotions in between that. So I was able to successfully help them through that process even before the divorce, and brought the child in between, and we spent some child therapy sessions for therapy for the child. And we were able to bring a good understanding. And in this case, I helped both the parents to come together, work through, not through their differences because they were getting divorced, but help them to understand the child's need. And they both agreed, and they both communicated to the child, and they decided on their access time together, helped with their communication, helped the mother to get some bit of allowances for her to stay here so that she can feel more confident and comfortable and supported. So it involves a lot of that, but both were willing to work through it. So I was able to get them through that. So they do come once in a while just to see if there's anything else they would like to help. But the child is in a very stable position.
That's amazing, because I'm seeing the legal perspective, right? Where they've come and they cannot argue, they haven't seen someone like you, they can't agree, and then they just fight it out in court. Or in some cases, they're child abduction cases where they just remove the child from the country, and then you're taking out applications left, right, center, when really I'm not saying every situation is the same, but a lot of it can just be solved by someone like you coming and sitting with them and just navigating through this and reaching a middle ground that is sustainable for both parties. So glad to hear that you could help that couple.
Oh, there are a few of them we have really helped them through. We work with courts as well, and the court sometimes assigns us to completely take control of it, and we decide on the sessions and work through them.
Amazing.
But it's tough.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so we'll slowly transition into Q&A time. So audience members, feel free to type into the Q&A or email us if you've got a question. But I'll just get kick-started. There's some questions that have already come through. Someone is saying, I feel that my child has been alienated from me. What should I do?
The word alienation is quite a heavy word technically, and how they feel, but I can feel the alienation is more of, I feel quite separated. Um, my uh, my suggestion is never stop reaching out to your child in every way you can. You must do everything you can, but you must do it very gently. You must do it very slowly, and try to reach out. And especially when the children are young, you feel very lost because they are not together with you. The teenagers, you may not feel so much of a loss because they are busy with their own stuff. They are very young, they're so innocent. You want to hug them, you want to play with them, and that puts the parents into a lot of stress. But what is happening is you're fighting with the adult, not with the child. And so, you need to manage your emotions, calm them down, get some help, and take every step, but never stop reaching out to your child in every way you can. If it can be via WhatsApp or for video call, or just to go drop off something so the child feels excited. It's not about the quality of time. Everybody wants this 50% of time. If I get that 50%, okay, then I feel I have won. It's not about that. Again, it's not your want, but never stop reaching out. Believe me, one day situation will change, time will heal, things will get better as the child grows up as well. The child needs to know that you are still around. The child needs to know that you want a connection. The child may not be ready for it due to many other situations. The child may not be, but it's good for the child to know that you are there around.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if some of you would have watched documentaries of, being given away or being adopted by somebody. And even after 30 years, 40 years, they spend 2-3 years just looking for their birth parents all across the
Yes.
world, right? It's that deep instinct in a child. I want to know how my father is, or how my mother
Yes.
is, no matter what. So do not give up. Try to stay connected. You may not have the frequency as much as possible, but do not give up, because the child's state of mind may be completely different now, but it will evolve to a different. Let the child know you're there, and the child will come to you. Situations may not allow you at the moment, but don't lose hope. You need to give time for healing on both sides, and do not let your emotions take the best of you.
That's such good advice. Okay, so someone's asked, my kids are 3 and 5. How should I broach the topic of divorce with them? I suppose you've already kind of touched
Kind
on
of,
it.
but I don't mind trying to. Okay. Once again, they're very young to understand. They should be given basic information that mom and dad will be living separately for now due to XYZ reasons. You don't need to give all the reasons. We need to be a little careful. For example, when a child asks you, like, Daddy, how was I born? I mean, are you going to give every explanation of how you were born? I mean, I remember saying, like, God put you into mommy's stomach, and then you were born, and then so we give them age appropriate information. But
Yeah.
is that wrong? No. Is that being not telling the facts? No, they will learn as they grow. So give very basic reasons of XYZ, that why you need to live separately. However, okay, dad will come and meet you on these specific dates, just making them feel secure. So as I told you, age appropriately, let them know that they need not be worried, but they both will be there. Again, do not let your emotions be projected on the children. If not, if you project your emotions, you will have difficulty in managing the same emotions that they will project on you at a later stage. If you have put anxiety in them, tomorrow when they grow up in their years, they will be having anxiety, and you will be the one dealing with that if you're not putting the right emotions now. So trying to keep them positive and keeping them stable is very important. So 3 and 5, how should you approach it? Give information, don't give every information, but help them feel safe and secure from both sides.
Okay, that's good. my wife is not budging on allowing me access to my child until we go for final judgment. How should I manage my emotions?
Okay, so I need to make an assumption, and there are two possible reasons for this. If your wife is not budging on allowing you to have access to your child, probably there are two reasons. One, your wife is angry with you. Or two, your wife is afraid of any perceived threat or abuse on the child. So these are the two things that the child may not, the mother may not be, budging on allowing access. Again, you must give some time for this. I want you to know that no matter what, you are the father of the child. And that privilege, no one can take it away from you. Even the courts cannot. How I have seen this is this. The only person who can push away that or take the child away from you is yourself. If you are not reaching out, if you are not being there, or if you're too naggy, if you're too complaining, if you're giving all this, one day the child will walk away from you. So no matter what, you are the father of the child. And that privilege, nobody can take it away from you. You need to give some time, learn to manage your own emotions, try to figure it out, calm yourself down. As I said, never give up, keep working on it. But with your wife, try to negotiate to have at least some controlled access if you can with your child. If she's not ready for it, try to understand it. Yes, you can fight at the courts, but don't fight it, but try to negotiate it. Okay, if it's not again 50% of the time. It doesn't work like that. Imagine the child every 3 days has to move with all his or her bags and books and stay with one parent, and then 3 days stay with another parent. It's not conducive. Imagine if you have to in your adult life, one day live, 3 days live in the West and 3 days live in the East and keep going to work. It's you're making it comfortable for you to be with your child, but we are not focusing on what the child wants. So do not be stressed for what the child is going through at this point of time. Negotiate with your partner. Try to calm down your partner. Give them some time. Make them feel comfortable. If not, get some help.
That's good. Okay, so someone is asking, has there been a lot of abuse, including physical abuse on a child? My child doesn't want to see the father anymore. I am supporting her decision. What is your view on this? So two parts to the question, I believe. Maybe in this case, she's informing you there's been a lot of abuse, including a physical abuse on the child.
Okay. If there's physical abuse, definitely the child may have some fears. The father needs help. It's good that he goes and takes some professional help. Why he's doing it, what was his reason. Generally, the intention is not to harm the child, but it could be his upbringing and his view of parenting. So that his idea of parenting has to be changed first. Well, I know as a mother, you would not want your child to go back because there's physical abuse. But on a long run, it's not healthy for the daughter to be away from the parent. So we need to have help for the child to bring back that confidence and encourage the child, provided the father has taken some professional help. Provided he is going for some help, understanding that this is not acceptable, and he's willing to change, and start giving him some controlled access. And you need to encourage the child to understand that it is important, but mommy will make sure that there won't be any abuse. So we encourage the child, because the child needs that father figure at a different stage of their life. So my suggestion is, do not discourage, but make sure that the father is getting help. If he's taking help, and then there's a counselor, there's a professional who is encouraging the transition with controlled access in the beginning until the child feels ready. But do not stop. It's not healthy for a long term, because we don't want the child to keep the trauma. That trauma has to has to be addressed with the father.
So the question, so just another statement, he denies all violence even though there were witnesses. So we don't want to see him.
You can suggest him to get professional help. And you can tell him like, okay, if you want to see the child, you need to get this professional help. They have to assess you. They have to go through it. After you have done that, if the professional agrees, then we will agree. But do not stop the child. It will affect the child, because the trauma for the child, if there is, will affect the child on the future.
Yeah.
It has to be addressed back with the parents.
Okay. And so we're just a couple of minutes before we wrap up. So if any of the participants have any hot questions you want to ask Sam Roberts, this is your time. So feel free to just type it into the chat or the Q&A button. So while we're waiting for anyone who might have some last minute questions, Sam, what is your experience with dealing with high conflict divorce, contentious co-parents, basically high conflict divorce situations? Because often these people come to me for legal advice, and they're asking me questions that actually a lot of psychologists should be in a better position to answer. But what is your experience, and how do you help these people navigate through high conflict divorce?
I mean, to be honest, when it is highly conflicted, it is very in a very tense situation. Again, there's a lot of emotions playing through that. And, recently I had this case where the mother is a Singaporean. She was overseas. She got married over there. When the child was 3, she took away the child without the consent of the father and moved to Singapore. Then the father had to, put into an abduction case, and then between the two countries, then he is in Singapore, and for the last 6 months he has not been able to even see the child.
Oh,
So
no.
the mother is like, yeah, and he's spending like 6 months running to courts, running to everything, and it's really struggling because they can't agree to one therapy center. They can't agree to who meets first, the psychologist. Or if you have met the psychologist first, that means you have taken the psychologist on your side. I mean, it's like every detail gets into like, you have met this lawyer, then I'm not going to work with this lawyer because this lawyer is going to work for you. So it's like everything, and both are professionals. In fact, they are high end. I mean, they're doctors, and they're just fighting over this little boy who is now 5 years old, and the father feels he's being alienated, and it's pretty contentious. It's like, even for me to get them to agree to come to a session took 2 months.
Wow.
So, and finally they couldn't even decide whether they want to stay with me. So one person feels, yes, I think we should work with Sam. The other person says, no, but I think you met the therapist before you met Sam. So I don't know where to take it. Again, there's a lot of, emotions involved. There's anger, there's frustration, there's retaliation, retribution, revenge. There's anger. There's a lot of things happening there. Again, nobody is focusing on the child. To give you one example of one situation, there was one guy, I met him in his 40s, and he went through a lot of trauma, and it affected his personal life, it affected his social life, it affected his emotional life. When he was 6, his parents got divorced. So he told me that his mother and grandmother stopped him from meeting his dad. He was completely disconnected. And they gave everything negative about his dad. And he grew up in that environment. Finally, he grew up under the control of his grandmother and mother, got his education, studied. But at the age of 22, he was deeply looking for his dad, in search of his dad. So then he started searching, and at the age of 29, he found his dad with so many contacts. He just wanted to know how his dad is and meet him. When he met his dad, he found his dad was still single, a very nice person, hugged him, talked to him, just encouraged him, and told him that he just be well. I'm so glad to see you. I just want to know, because I would never be given any contact to see you. The son was so affected by it that now he had his own job and stuff. He was able to manage. He completely disconnected from his mother and his grandmother and started living with his dad because his dad was alone, and completely disconnected from his grandmother and his mother. And he turned completely hostile towards them, because he said he realized from his experience that all the information given to him was wrong, and now he disliked his mother and grandmother and became more close and connected to his dad. Now he's living with his dad and taking care of his dad, and now he's got married, but this trauma has affected him in many other ways of his life.
Yeah.
So in highly conflicted divorce, the focus has become on themselves, and the focus is not on the child. And if that attention is not given, you're working hard trying to protect the child, but you're not helping the child for a long journey. So my suggestion is always, if you cannot get professionals to help you, do not let your emotions run through it, because the child needs both of you. The child's stability is important. It's a hard truth. It's very hard to receive it. It's a hard truth.
Yeah, especially when they're so angry with each other.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I feel pity with the emotions that the parents go through. I empathize with them. But the truth is that the child needs both. It's not what we want.
Yeah.
The child needs a stable home, a stable environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can see when it comes to infidelity, the frustration, the sadness, the depression. I mean, I feel on the sides. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. So it's very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I would be in this profession if I don't have empathy for what the parents are going through. I went into depression. I wanted to end my life. That's what made me a counselor and a professional into this. So I work with empathy, but at the same time, the children are the most vulnerable. The adults have a lot of resources to help them cope with, and they have a lot of resources to work through it. They have more cognitive ability to help that. So as much as I empathize with their struggles, the most vulnerable are the children.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Sam, so we're 2 minutes to 1 p.m. I guess there's no more questions, but would you like to share with participants your contact information if they wanted to get in touch with you?
Sure. Let me see if I have it on my screen. So this is my contact, if it helps. So my office is at Mountbatten Square. You can just go to olivebranch.com.sg, or you can also go to kidstherapy.sg. Both of it works together. If you want my profile and my contact, you can take my number and message me and text me, and I'll be there to help you.
Great. All right, Sam, thank you so much for sharing with us about, how to navigate emotions during a very, very difficult time in someone's life, especially when there are children involved. So thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. It's Christmas week, so I understand it's a busy week, but still you've carved out some time. It's been very beneficial for me as a lawyer, and I'm sure the participants as well. So thank you. And to the rest of the participants, thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely Christmas week, and we'll be seeing you next month. So stay tuned. Okay.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.